Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2023 film Meg 2, The Trench. And I'm going to say off the bat, this one obviously is not as good as the first one. Anyone who's seen this and they're watching my review, you know, this one is not as good as the first one. Although, you know, people may have some differing opinions. And if you feel that this movie was better than the first one, go ahead and let me know why. Give me a few reasons. Always interested in hearing that stuff. But I thought the first Meg film was a lot of fun. I thought it didn't take itself too seriously, but it had enough of a mix of like not taking itself seriously and having a little bit of humor to it, but also being serious enough that you knew you were going to get some fun shark stuff. A good amount of it too. So really enjoyed the kind of mix on that one. This one, they departed from that, unfortunately. Even though they had the same writers involved, they departed from what they did and was successful. Some of it was still kind of the same, but they changed it too much, and yeah, it got way too convoluted, but I'll talk about it more as I go on. This one was directed by Ben Wheatley, who also did Kill List, Sightseers, A Field in England, and High Rise. I've seen Kill List and Sightseers, and those are both good films, and I think from a visual standpoint, the film looks good, other than the CGI, which I'll talk about more, but it looks good. It's shot well. It's obvious that the cinematography is good. It's obvious that Wheatley knows what he's doing from a directorial standpoint. The acting is not bad. I mean, the acting's good in this film, too. So a lot of technical stuff is quite nice. The composition of the score is good. All that good jazz. This film is written by Jon Hoeber and Erich Hoeber, who did Red 2, Battleship, which I've heard is just like off the rails, The Meg, and Transformers Rise of the Beasts, which I've heard is terrible, as well as Dean Georgaris, who did Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, Paycheck, The Manchurian Candidate, the 2004 version, Tristan and Isolde, and The Meg. So same writers, it's just they did a much better job on the first script. Reportedly, Jason Statham did not like the lighter tone of the film and the lack of bloodshed in it. Now, this is a PG-13 film, so there is a certain degree of blood that you can get away with. They did do that with the Meg, because the original Meg was also PG-13. So, I think the amount of, like, shark mayhem and blood and violence that they had in that was a lot better level than what they have in this one. They go a lot too light on it. And apparently Jason Statham thought the same thing. So, as far as synopsis goes, it's a Megalodon movie. I mean, if you saw the first movie, it's about the Megalodon, gigantic shark that they claim existed a long time ago. And it's not so much about the Megalodon, unfortunately. It goes off of some of the Megalodon stuff. It starts with that, and then in the middle, they kind of go away. Well, actually, even a little bit before the middle, they go away from that, and they're kind of like, no, now this is going to be about other villains, other people doing villainous things, and we're going to forget about the Meg, or multiple Megs, for quite some time. We're going to forget about that, and then they eventually bring it back. So it's this weird thing where it kind of feels like it's two movies. It's like one movie placed inside of the Meg. So you're getting like the first bit, maybe like 20 minutes or so, it's like, oh, it's the Meg. And then for the next like hour plus, it's like, oh, it's another movie I don't recognize. And then it comes back for like the last, 20 minutes or so, and it's like, oh, it's the Meg again. So it's just really weird, and the flow is all screwed up because of that. And there are these very long stints where you're just like, where are the sharks? Like, why haven't we seen a shark in so long? And why are we so focused on this other story that really doesn't mean anything to what's going on with the Megalodons? So, anyway. But I digress. The scene before the title is actually a fun way to announce the movie. I thought that was a nice kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also like in-your-face way to be like, this is the second Meg movie. Fun, light, kind of sets the tone for it. Unfortunately, I don't think the CGI stands up. The CGI does not look the best to me. Now, I watched it on Max, and I don't know at what level Max puts out their films, like what level they're streaming. Are they streaming up to 4K? I don't know. If that is the case, then the CGI just isn't holding up to 4K, because I do have a 4K television. So it didn't look great to me. It literally looked like they're not there. Like the environment they're shooting in, the CGI things are physically not there because they do look CGI. They look too fake. Quicker moments, it's not that big of a deal, but when it's more focused on it, it definitely doesn't look very real. It's present day, but the tech is futuristic in this, so it's not really rooted in present day. They literally say present day, but it's one of those movies where it's kind of like, yeah, it's present times, but this is also reimagining a present where our technology is way ahead of where it is right now, so you get all these kind of ridiculous technological advances that don't actually exist, but they're just kind of like, wouldn't this be nice? And they probably aren't even feasible. Actually, I know pretty much for a fact that one of the things is not feasible, especially, I mean, there are things that they use and they go to like depths of the ocean that those things would be crushed. They would not make it because of the pressure as you keep going down in the ocean. But anyway, it's a movie. You know, you kind of suspend your disbelief, especially because it's a movie that you know from the first one isn't supposed to be taken too seriously. They put in a lot of humor, but it's not actually funny humor. That's one of the problems. One of the biggest departures with this is they went way too hard on the humor, and we're like, oh, people like the humor in the first film. Let's put in even more of that. And they just go over the top with it, especially because it's not funny. There isn't much of any actual funny humor in it, and it just leaves you kind of being like, okay, please less dialogue from these people. Please have them stop talking because they talk a lot. There is so much character talking back and forth that really doesn't add anything to the movie. It just seems like they're trying to waste time, and it really messes up the flow of the movie and the focus of it. It does have a real nice floating camera style with plenty of movement. I'm a big fan of that because, once again, like I was saying before, cinematography is really good. The directorial stuff is really good. So it looks excellent, and it's very engaging camera work, which I'm always a big fan of. There's definitely a large portion where you're like, is this movie supposed to be about Megs? Like I was saying before, like large stints where you're just like, what is this movie about? Like, why are we doing this right now? Why have we come so far off the path of the actual Meg? At some point, like the movie just doesn't feel like it should be called Meg 2. It just should be called The Trench, featuring a Meg or two, you know? They show a lot of things, but the story moves very slowly and lots of scenes are too drawn out. Now, what I mean is they keep changing the kind of like scenery, the environment of what's going on a good amount. So there's a good amount of things to look at, but what's actually happening, it's taking too long. The scenes are way too drawn out. Like I was talking before, the conversations between the characters go on way too long, and it just really slows things down and just kills momentum for the movie until the end. You know, momentum ends up coming back at the very end, and it has like a good final 15-20 minutes, I'd say, and that's what the whole movie should have been, in my opinion. This movie is way too long for what it is, and the story doesn't need it because it's not interesting. That's the other thing. Like, it's fine if you make a movie longer, and I think this movie was like 2 hours. I think it was like 2 hours and 4 minutes with credits and everything, but somewhere around there. But it's just way too long for what it is. They tried to shove too much story into it that doesn't really matter. People don't really care about. It's too convoluted. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's like some characters that pop up and you're just like, what is their motivation? Like, why is this happening right now? So not great. But yeah, they didn't need to take all that time because what they're trying to do is not interesting. Although the last 20 to 30 minutes is what the movie should have been. That was like the return to form. That it feels like that's what, like they wrote the end of it first, and they were like, this is a great way to end the film, and then they had no idea how to get to that point, so they just kind of stumbled their way there. So that's my thought on it, but I would love to hear what other people have to say, so put it in the comments. Out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give Meg 2 The Trench a 2-star rating. I'm not going to go down too far because like that last 20-30 minutes was actually pretty good, but a lot of the movie's kind of a mess, unfortunately, until that last 20 or 30 minutes. I would honestly say if anyone wants to watch Meg 2 just for, you know, similar feels to the first one, literally just fast forward to like the last like half hour and then watch that, and you'll be good. You'll get what you want out of it. So anyway, again, would love to hear from other people on their thoughts on this movie. Do me a favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also hit the like on this video if you enjoyed it at all. And you can hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing at least 3 a week at this point. Anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video, and until next time, keep it brutal.